Hey there, grade 8s. Welcome to lesson 4 of chapter 2. So here we're actually developing the rules for dividing integers. So if we remember when we were talking about multiplying integers, we kind of came up with the rules. When you have a positive multiplied by a positive, we would get a positive. Also, if we had a negative times a negative, we would get a positive. So when we had two or an even number of negatives, we would work out to get the same thing. But when we have differing symbols, okay, so we would have a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive, we would always end up with negatives. Okay, so now we're going to talk about division. So when we're talking about division, which is kind of the opposite of multiplication, okay, so here we have positive 15 divided by positive 5 equals 3. So I'm going to give you guys some terms. So here we have our dividend. Okay, this is our dividend. Our first number is our dividend. And then here we have our divisor. And then over here we have our quotient. Okay, so our quotient is the answer in a division question. So when you're talking about, or when you have a question and saying what is the quotient, it's asking for the answer of a division question. So here we have a positive divided by a positive equals, or a positive. So what if we were to change it up? So what if we had positive 15 divided by negative 5? Okay, what would we get there? Well, we have positive 15, negative 5. That would end up with negative 3. So our quotient would be negative 3. Okay? If we have negative 15 and we divide it by positive 5, we would end up with negative 3 once again. And then our last one, if we have negative 15 divided by negative 5, we would end up with positive 3. So when we look at our rules, what's going on here? Here we have a positive divided by a positive, and we get a positive. Here we have a negative divided by a negative, and we get a positive. Okay, so similar rules to what we had last time. Here we have a negative divided by a positive, and a positive divided by a negative, and both of those give us negatives. Okay, so when we have symbols where we have the same number of negatives, or an even number I shouldn't say even number of positives, but when we have an even number of negatives, we're going to get a positive out of it. When we have an odd number of negatives, then we're going to end up with a negative answer. Okay, so when we're looking at it, we can also think about, okay, what's going to happen if we're doing multiplication? Okay, so we can kind of go the opposite direction. So if we had positive 3 times negative 5, so positive times a negative, we would get negative 15. If we have negative 3 times positive 5, we would get negative 15. Okay? If we have negative 3 times negative 5, we would get positive 15. And here if we have positive 3 times positive 5, we would get positive 15. So it works both ways, but the rules that we have for multiplication are also the same rules that we have for division. Okay? I'm going to put a couple questions on the board. I'll leave these rules over here just to give you guys an opportunity. So we're just going to do a couple practice ones. Pause the video and just put your answers down as you're ready. And so I'll put about 3 questions down, and then you give me what your answer should be. So let's go with positive 42 divided by negative 6. Let's go negative 56 divided by negative 7. And one more, let's say positive 12 divided by positive 4. All right, so pause the video, put your answers in, and then when you start the video up, we're going to come right back to the answers. So in this one, we have positive 42 divided by negative 6. So we have one positive and one negative. So I know right away my answer is going to be negative, okay, because that's going to be this rule right here. So 42 divided by 6, or I can ask myself what times 6 equals 42. It's going to be negative 7. Okay, 6 times 7 is 42. The next one, I have 56 divided by negative 7, negative 56. So I have a negative and a negative. I have an even number of negatives. I have 2 of them, so my answer is going to be positive. 56 divided by 7 gives me 8. Okay, here I have a positive and a positive, so my answer is going to be positive. Okay, 12 divided by 4 gives me 3, or 3 times 4 is 12, 7 times 8 is 56, 7 times 6 is 42. All right. Okay, I'm going to have some questions for you in your homework. If you have any questions, make sure that you bring them to the Zoom chat. Make sure that you get some practice with these rules. Let me know if you have any questions through Hangouts. Good luck.